Hello YouTube, and welcome to episode 4 of our Axis and Allies 1914 video series tutorial series. If you've been watching these videos in order, you know that we have gone over the history of the countries, their relationships with each other, the way that the map looks, what exactly is it that we're seeing here on the board, the numbers and the lines and whatnot. And we've also talked about the different units. So for this video, we are going to be talking about combat. What do all those numbers mean? We know that the higher the number, the better. When we say this unit attacks at a 3 and this one defends at a 2, the higher number, the better. But what does it actually mean? So that's what we're going to get into for this video. I have a series of different battles arranged around the board. This is not an indication as to whether or not these are good battles, that the odds are in the favor of the attacker. These are just random battles set up to illustrate different things. We're going to be talking about land combat. That's where we're going to start. Then we're going to talk about naval combat, and we're going to talk about amphibious assaults as well. So let's get into it. So our first land combat is a simple one. We're going to go simple to more complex. And we're looking at these. Sorry, let me zoom out just a little bit so my fingers aren't so huge. We've got some German infantry here versus some Russian infantry here. So let's say on Germany's turn, they decide they want to attack Poland. They're going to take these infantry and they're moving one space because they have one movement into Poland, and a battle will take place. Now on your turn, you're going to make all your combat moves, select all your battles first, and then you'll roll for your dice, or you'll roll your dice. So let's say we want to attack Poland here. So if you look close, you see that we have 2 red chips there, or orange chips, under the German infantry, and we know from a previous video that a light orange chip or light red chip means 1. So we've got a total of 3. We've got 2 chips plus the guy on top is 3 infantry. The Russians over here have a 2. They've got 1 guy and then a chip. So it's 3 German infantry versus 2 Russian infantry. This is a fairly straightforward battle because we have no additional modifiers. And so our infantry attack, regardless of country, infantry attack at a 2. So that means you're going to roll a regular die, or 3 dice in this case, 1 for each infantry, and for every roll of a 2 or less. So you've got a 33% chance on each die of hitting something. For every roll of a 2 or less, or a 1 or a 2, is a hit that you've scored. So you're going to roll your dice 1 time, and then Russia is going to roll its dice. Now it has 2 guys, so it only gets 2 dice, but all infantry defend at 3. So they will actually hit slightly better on defense than you will if you're Germany and you're attacking. So you'll roll your 3 dice, and let's say you get 1 hit, and then they're going to roll 2 dice at 3 or less, and they'll maybe get 1 hit, so you each take some casualties, and then the battle ends. So now, we talked before about how the number in the territory, the number that's circled like a 3 in Poland, means how much production, how much power, industrial capacity that territory is worth, and the territories you control determine how much money, how much you're able to do on your turn and produce. Well, no one now controls Poland because it has both German and Russian forces there, so now nobody gets the production for that. So it's just a straightforward 3 dice for the Germans hitting at a 2 or less, 2 dice for the Russians hitting at a 3 or less. Both sides roll, and then however many hits Germany scores, that's how many units of Russia get removed. So if Germany hit 1, we would remove that chip. Russia still has 1 left, and then if however many Russia hits, that's how many we take off of Germany, and then they sit there for the rest of until something else happens in the territory. So now we're going to make it a little more complicated. We're going to introduce artillery. So we've got our same 3 infantry for Germany, our same 2 infantry for Russia, but we have artillery, and we know that artillery helps infantry attack better. So what is that going to mean? So we've got 1 artillery, so that means 1 of our infantry is going to attack better. That infantry is going to attack at a 3. The other 2 infantry are not supported by artillery. There's not enough artillery to go around for all of them. The other 2 infantry are going to attack at a 2, just like normal. Now, over here with Russia, infantry already defended a 3. The artillery does not boost them. Infantry already defended a 3. Artillery defended a 3 as well, so there's nothing to boost those defending infantry. There is no pairing that goes on. And an attacking artillery also attacks at a 3. So artillery both attacks and defends at a 3. Infantry attacks at a 2 and defends at a 3. But if attacking infantry is paired with an artillery, it attacks at a 3. So in this case, we would have Germany would have 2 3 or less, 1 from the artillery and 1 from the improved infantry, and then 2 2 or lesses. And then Russia would just have 3 3 or lesses. So again, if Germany wanted to attack, they would move their units in there. Each side would roll once, and then remove casualties, and then they would just sit there. If neither side has completely removed the opposition from the territory, then it's contested and no one gets the production. Now we're going to go to a much more complicated battle. So we had artillery. Now we've got multiple artillery. We've got fighters coming into play here too. So we'll say that, again, Germany wants to move this force in over here. So what do we have? We have 5, 6, 7 infantry, 3 artillery, 2 fighters, versus Russia's 5, 6, 7, 8 infantry, 3 artillery, and 1 fighter. So the first thing we have to do is determine air supremacy. So that means that we're going to have a fighter battle. So Germany's 2 fighters against Russia's 1 fighter. Nothing else is involved in combat. So fighters attack and defend at a 2 or less. So you're just going to, instead of just rolling 1 round of combat, you're going to keep rolling until one side is eliminated. So maybe Germany rolls, it hits nothing. Russia rolls, it hits nothing. Okay, we're back to Germany. Germany rolls, hits nothing. Russia rolls, hits 1. Then a German fighter gets removed, and you keep going. So now it's Germany's 1 fighter. Finally, they get a hit, and then Russia returns fire and doesn't hit. So now Germany has 1 fighter, so the air supremacy, and that's going to improve their artillery. If Russia had won that, then Russian artillery would get improved. And that means that, in this case, that all of the artillery is going to be 1 better. So if they were attacking at a 3 or less before, now they're going to be a 4 or less. Or for Russia, if they were defending at a 3 or less, they would defend at a 4 or less. So let's say that Germany wins this, because they have more fighters, so chances are they probably would win that dogfight. Now, what do we do with all of these units? Again, we're doing land combat, so it's just going to be 1 round of rolling. And we need to see how many artillery Germany has. We know they have 3. So that means 3 of our infantry are going to attack at a 3. And we have 7 infantry. So 4 of them will attack at a 2. 3 of them will attack at a 3. Now our artillery normally attacks at a 3, but because of air supremacy, our 3 artillery will actually attack at a 4. So that helps them out quite a bit. And then of course we have our fighters that attack at a 2, just like before. And they do get to engage in this land combat after the dogfight in the air. And in this case, Russia, infantry and artillery, we know all attack, or all defends at a 3, so they have 5, 6, 7, 8, sorry about that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I think that's 11 threes there. If for some reason they did win the dogfight, and let's say Germany lost it, then those artillery would attack, or I'm sorry, I keep saying that, those artillery would defend at a 4, all of the infantry defends at a 3 like normal, and the airplane defends at a 2 in that combat. So those are a few illustrations of land combat going from the simplest to something a little more complex to something very complex. Next thing we're going to do is take a look at sea battles. For that, we're going to come all the way over here. And again, we're going to start with simplicity first. So we've just got 2 cruisers versus 2 cruisers. And so we would move, let's say again, Germany's the aggressor, move in there. Cruisers attack and defend at a 3. And unlike land combat, naval combat is kind of like the dogfighting in the air. You're just going to keep rolling. So Germany rolls, Russia rolls. Germany rolls, Russia rolls. Each side gets a roll before you remove casualties. So each side will roll once, tally the hits, remove casualties, then each side can roll again, and so forth until one side is eliminated or the attacker retreats back from whence they came. Something a little more complex, we're going to introduce subs here. So we have our same 2 cruisers. Each side has a sub. Now subs are going to attack and defend at a 2, so it's not that different from our 2 3s versus 2 3s. We've got a 2 and 2 3s versus a 2 and 2 3s. The subs have the ability to submerge. So if for some reason you think the battle isn't going well for you, your cruisers can't just run away. I mean, if you're attacking, you could retreat, but assuming you're being attacked, cruisers can't just run away. However, subs can submerge, which means basically they stay in the territory, but they are removed from combat. So they can't be hit unless, let's say that Germany is attacking and they've scored a couple hits. Russia could choose to submerge the sub, but they still have a couple hits they need to distribute, and maybe instead of losing a cruiser, they want to lose a sub, in which case they would apply that hit to that sub rather than have it submerge. Now over here we have our third battle. This involves battleships. Battleships are unlike other naval units, really any other unit in the game, in that they can take 2 hits to be destroyed. So they attack and defend at a 4, so they're the most powerful naval ship. So let's say that, we'll make Russia the aggressor this time. Let's say that Russia, is attacking Germany over here, and they score 3 hits. Well, Germany could lose a sub, but they've got 2 other hits to distribute. They could either apply both of the hits to one battleship, and now the battleship's destroyed, or they could apply 1 hit to both battleships. Now, those battleships can still remain in combat and still continue to do things, so they're not totally destroyed, but they are damaged. So that means if they take 1 more hit without getting repaired, then they are eliminated. And the same thing, of course, goes for the Russian battleships. In order to repair them, you need to move them to a friendly port, and they need to sit there for a full turn. So this would not be a friendly port for Germany, because Italy is a member of the Entente. However, if Germany could get, let's say, to one of its ports up here and sit, then it could repair those battleships. Now the last thing that I want to look at is all the way up here, and this is amphibious assaults. So we're going to need some transports. It's kind of hard to tell. I've got 4 transports there. These guys up here are loaded in those transports. I've got 4 infantry and 4 artillery. And I'm going to attack Livonia over here, and Russia has some units over there. So another nice thing about battleships is that if there's no naval combat, and you're doing an amphibious assault and there's a battleship present, you can coastally bombard, which means before combat takes place, you get to roll, again at a 4 or less because it's a battleship, and any 4 or lesses that you score are considered casualties in the first round. So, however, if there is naval combat, like in this case, Russia has a battleship, all of your surface ships have to engage that, and they can't both fight off an enemy navy and coastally bombard. So in that case, there'd be no coastal bombardment. But let's say that wasn't there. We move our navy up there. Now we can get a sorry about that. Now we can get a coastal bombardment. Or 2, actually, because we have 2 battleships. We can't bombard. We can't get more bombardments than we have units that we're dropping off. So if we had 5 battleships and 1 transport can move 2 units. We would only get 2 bombardments. Normally, that's not going to be an issue. So they're considered casualties in the first round. However, our defending artillery also have a neat advantage. You'll see that Russia has 2 artillery over here. Artillery, I basically think of it as the landing force is storming the beaches, they are wide open to being shot by artillery. And so artillery have a thing like the coastal bombardment, except it's actually a little bit better. Now it is at a 3 or less. The artillery is normal defense. However, any hits they score get removed immediately, so they don't even get a chance to fire in the opening salvo. Whereas casualties from the battleship hits, the coastal bombardment, do get to fire back. So you've got that opening round where you've got the defending artillery firing on the landing troops. You've got the battleships potentially doing their coastal bombardment. And then after that, the battle takes place like it normally would. So you've got your land forces, your attackers rolling once based on everything that we talked about down here with the artillery and the infantry and anything else coming into play. And then you've got the defenders rolling 1 round. So even though the artillery got that preemptive strike, that does not take them out of the battle. They do get to keep fighting. So after that initial part, the rest of it's just like any other land combat that we did, but you do have the potential for those alterations right at the beginning with the battleships as well as the defending artillery. So let's zoom out a little bit so you can see. I know I've got these battles scattered all over the board of different types. We've got our land battle, simple, moderate, complex. We have our naval battles, simple, moderate, more complex, and then we have our amphibious assault over here. And sorry about those chips. That does not mean that those German troops are dead. That is on the far side of the table from me, and so I probably would jostle the camera quite a bit if I tried to adjust those right now. So that's what we have going on for combat. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching this part in the series. I hope you've been enjoying it, and I hope to get additional videos up here before too long.